And it's a fascinating read. I don't really read fictional books, but I knew that this was going to be huge, and I had to get up to speed on it. So I did read the book, and what we can do is go through some of the blatant lies and disinformation that Brown mixes in, because what's interesting about that book is that he mixes in facts and fiction, and in the beginning of the book, just like in the Da Vinci Code, he says that the Illuminati's real, that this book is based on facts, just the story is a fictional story about this man that is a Harvard teacher and a expert in the Illuminati and symbology, so religious symbols. And so the story leads you to believe that the Illuminati has been secretly continuing to exist and now is going to blow up Vatican City, and Tom Hanks needs to go and save the Vatican from this huge explosion, and the Vatican's they're voting in a new pope, and so it's the center stage of the world, and everybody's watching it, and it's this big ordeal of him trying to track down the antimatter from the Illuminati. But what's interesting is that Dan Brown, in the book, mixes in actual historical Illuminati references and quotes, and mentions that they were had infiltrated the Masons and became a society within the Masons. Mentions the popular internet websites for searching for the Illuminati in the book. One of his characters claims that he did a search on Google for the Illuminati, and thousands of results came, and he noticed that people still believe that the Illuminati exists. He mixes in actual quotes from, I think, Winston Churchill, and talks about the all-seeing eye on the dollar bill, and does blend in some interesting real information with the story. What he gets wrong is that he makes the Illuminati out to seem like they're the good guys, except that they're now just going to be evil and blow up the Vatican. But the version that Dan Brown presents is that the Illuminati was a group of scientists, not a political group, a group of scientists. And he even gets the date wrong because he places them way, way earlier. The original Illuminati founded in the 1700s, but Angels and Demons revolves around the famous artist, sculptor Bernini, Galileo. The Galileo was the man that popularized heliocentrism, which is the idea that the Earth revolves around the sun and not vice versa, as the Church taught, the Catholic Church taught. So Dan Brown says that Copernicus, that Giovanni, Bernini, that Galileo, they were all in the Illuminati, and it was just a group of scientists, and then the Catholic Church was pursuing them and torturing them and killing scientists, including Copernicus. That's what Dan Brown says, which did not happen. Dan Brown utterly created that fiction. Copernicus died when he was 70 years old in the 1500s, which is quite an old age. So he gives this false representation that the poor scientists were persecuted by the Catholic Church, which were persecuting people and were very corrupt and very evil and non-Christian, and continue to give Christians a bad name for the Inquisition and the activities that they were involved in. But it's fascinating to see a couple other instances that he mixes in, that he claims are fact, that are just clearly fraud. He mentions that the Illuminati had these ambigram brands, and that they were branding people with this iron brand, sort of like you brand a cattle in retribution for the Vatican branding the cross on heretics, which I don't think actually happened. He mentions a couple other interesting facets, that the Bilderberg Group financed the Illuminati. So he mentions the Bilderberg Group, the Freemasons, the dollar bill symbology, architecture symbols, and all this interesting, somewhat factual information. And then later, what I'll get into is some of the interesting ties that Dan Brown himself has to the Illuminati. Very, very fascinating connections that he himself has, and even continues to have, along with his publisher.
Yeah, and when the masses see this, because really they don't read anymore unless Oprah tells them to, or it's a big smash hit like the Da Vinci Code, so the majority of people really haven't read Angels and Demons, they're going to be like, oh, you saw that movie whenever you talk about, the New World Order or the Illuminati. Oh, you saw that movie. Yeah, they're not real. That's just a movie. And you're just like, well, actually, no, the Illuminati did exist, and they still do really exist in other incantations, and they've, openly stated in their documents that they'll just go by another name. And really saying that the Bilderberg Group is funding the Illuminati, it's vice versa. It's the people at the top that use the Bilderberg Group, that use the CFR, that use the Bohemian Grove, that use Skull and Bones as a means to an end. And this is a do as thou wilt mentality. Why don't you talk about that, the do as thou wilt mentality of these people?
The do as thou wilt is the key term that Aleister Crowley taught, which basically means do whatever you want. Don't worry about the consequences. And so even in the Illuminati Facts and Fiction, I have a section dedicated to the Illuminati mindset. And I take a good look at their mindset and even play devil's advocate, the possibility that they have the truth about existence and what are the implications for that. But the do what thou wilt mentality is a social Darwinistic view that basically means just do whatever you want to do. It doesn't matter. Take advantage of other people, which is obviously the philosophy of these individuals. They don't worry about any sort of divine repercussions. They don't care about anybody else's feelings, sanity, health, and they are leeches that are ruthless and care only about themselves. And
we'll be back after this. It's the Alex Jones Show.
Are you tired of losing your hard-earned savings in retirement? Does the continued loss of purchasing power through the hidden tax of inflation brought on by trillions of dollars in government bailouts bother you? Then please let me, Dwayne Daly with Midas Resources, help you to protect what you have left. Call me at 800-686-2237 extension 115, and I will explain to you how to retain your wealth and purchasing power now and in the future with gold and silver. Gold and silver have been a form of currency for 6,000 years compared to our present fiat currency, which has only been in existence for 38 years and failing fast. Call me, Dwayne Daly, at 800-686-2237 extension 115 to start your protection of wealth today. I will custom fit the protection package to your personal needs. No amount is too small, so start today. Call Dwayne Daly with Midas Resources at 800-686-2237 extension 115 for your gold and silver protection portfolio.
We are back. It's the Alex Jones Show. I'm Jason Bermas sitting in. We're joined by Mark Dice, author of The Resistance Manifesto and now The Illuminati Facts and Fiction. They're both available over at Infowars.com, as well as the republished Proofs of a Conspiracy by John Robison. You want to hear about the Illuminati from their mouths, that's the book for you. And thank God for Mark Dice putting all this information out. You may not agree with everything the man has to say, but I encourage you to at least go and check out his information, because I think a lot of it is spot on. And Mark, you were just about to discuss, Dan Brown, his connections to the quote-unquote Illuminati.
Dan Brown is a graduate of Phillips Exeter Academy, which is a private boarding school on the East Coast for the children of the elite. Now, a boarding school is a place where rich families send their children to go and live and go to school. So this is a boarding school basically for high school students, so from 9th to 12th grade. He is a graduate of this school, along with some other very interesting people who I will name in just a second. But not only is this just a school for the elite, but back in 1930, a man named Edward Harkness, which was John D. Rockefeller's right-hand man. John D. Rockefeller, longtime Illuminati family, founder of Standard Oil, the patriarch of the Rockefeller family. Now this man, Edward Harkness, back in 1930, donated almost $6 million to the Phillips Exeter Academy under the condition that they changed their method of teaching to what he called the Aristotelian method of antiquity. Now, Aristotle was a student of Plato. Plato had this interesting concept of philosopher kings ruling over the people. Now, the philosopher kings were the super enlightened that knew better, and under his opinion should then decide what's best for the people and should rule over. So you have this individual, that donated this money under the condition that it changed the method to this Aristotelian method. And so what they do at this Philip Exeter Academy is they basically get a real education, while most of us are stuck in the poor public school. So over there at this Illuminati school, whose symbol is actually a sun, rising sun, with a beehive, more Masonic symbology there. That's where they really send their children to get a good education and learn about how the world works. By the way, adjusted for inflation, that $5.8 million donation today, $74 million donated to them. Some other interesting graduates who we're all going to be familiar with from this academy: David Rockefeller Jr., Jay Rockefeller, senator of West Virginia, who basically said that the internet needs to be shut down and wishes that we never created it. Peter Orszag, director of the U.S. Offices of Management and Budget in Barack Obama's cabinet.